Hello, everyone. I am Sophronia Scott, Director of the Alma College MFA in Creative Writing, and this is Faculty Friday. This is your chance to get a little bit of learning from the amazing faculty that we have available for you as a student in our low residency MFA program. Today, I am delighted to have with us the newest member of our faculty, S. Kirk Walsh. Kirk is originally from the suburbs of Detroit. She is a novelist now based in Austin, Texas. In the spring of 2021, she published her debut novel, The Elephant of Belfast, which was inspired by true events that took place at the Bellevue Zoo in Belfast, Northern Ireland, in the spring of 1941. The novel was published by Counterpoint Press in the States and then published as The Zookeeper of Belfast by Hachette in the Commonwealth and Ireland. Within weeks, The Elephant of Belfast became a national bestseller in the States and has been translated in several foreign editions. She is at work on a second novel about Detroit during World War II. Her essays, literary criticism, and short fiction have been published in the New York Times Book Review, Virginia Quarterly Review, Guernica, Texas Highways, and others. So thank you for joining us today, especially since I know that you're writing, you're working on that next book.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here and good to see you.
So you're writing, and because it's National Novel Writing Month, now there are a lot of people writing this month. And the focus, of course, of NaNoWriMo is to generate a first draft and to do it over the course of 1 month. So do you have any tips for the NaNoWriMo folks about how to generate that fast first draft?
Yeah, I think I'll just sort of share a little bit about what has worked for me. And I think a part of the first draft is trying to get the editor out of the way and the critic out of the way. And I think a part of the process with any novel is to find those strategies and tools that work for you. And that's obviously going to be different for every writer. For me, I like to write longhand, and I just use a legal pad. And so, and with the first draft, I think I like to try to keep track a little bit, just so I know what my progress is. But the reason I like to write longhand is that I'm not as focused on the sentences. I'm more focused on just getting the scenes down. And it's just like it allows me to begin to build the foundation of the story. I am a writer of many revisions. And so I try not to, kind of wed myself too much to the sentences, but more begin to see how the scenes can accumulate over time. And for me, the easiest way to do that is writing longhand. I do like, I, that said, I don't write the entire draft by longhand and then type it in. I'll write and then I'll type and then I'll write and then I'll type. And that just sort of allows me to kind of see it building. And yeah, I think it's hard to write a first draft. I mean, I think a part of novel writing is just sort of psyching yourself up for the long the long haul. But another thing that sometimes I'll do is, just like an index card, I'll give myself maybe 3 to 5 index cards and write a scene. I'll just say, okay, just, sit down, fill 3 to 5 index cards, front and back. And once again, it just sort of allows me some freedom just to begin to get the scenes down. And I do, yeah, just kind of writing through scenes. And because it can be kind of challenging just to, with my students who I've worked with, particularly after the first 40 or 50 pages, it can kind of be like, now what? And so I think just sort of moving through those kind of, yeah, where you kind of feel like you might be stalled a little bit, writing longhand can kind of help move through that.
Mm. I'm the same way, Kirk. I write longhand and type and longhand and type.
Oh, you do?
Yes. I feel as though I can't get a sense of the sound of my voice, the characters' voices, the feel of the novel, unless I'm writing it by hand. I've tried not to, because of course it takes time to write and then type and write,
Yeah.
but it doesn't come out the same if I just type.
Y- Yeah, and I think like for me, I just like it's the most free I feel as a writer. Like I'm not hindered by the language. And it's like there's lots of time after that first draft to work on the language. But like I said, like I'm definitely it takes time for me to find the structure and the scope. And a big part of like the first draft and like even the second and third draft is defining the constraints of the story. And I think for me, a part of it is kind of expanding into the story, and then I kind of move back and define, the canvas a little bit more once I have a sense of what the story might be. And I think too, like, I mean, we both um, have written historical fiction, and one thing that can be challenging is thinking you have to do like all the research before you begin writing. And obviously, this is another process that varies from writer to writer. But for me, I begin the research before I start writing, but I try to start writing pretty soon into the process just because ultimately the story is driven by character and relationships. And I can build the world, like the world building happens in the revision process for me.
Yeah, I agree. Well, before we go, I do have one more question to ask, because it sounds like the way you described it doesn't sound like you outline beforehand. It sounds like you're discovering the story as you write. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm definitely a writer that writes my way in, and I kind of wait for the story to present itself. And um, yeah, I was mentioning before that I was at the Texas Book Festival this weekend, and one of the authors I heard was Michael Cunningham, who has a new novel out today,
Oh,
Day. Yeah, and he was talking about, I think it's a pretty common question outlining. And once again, I think it does work for some writers. But he kind of said for him, an outline sort of makes the characters his employees. And he'd rather have the characters kind of be, discovering and moving through kind of the impulse of curiosity. Um, and I think I kind of feel the same way. Like a big part of it is finding kind of the freedom of the characters, and I can't discover that. Like often I might not know exactly, you know, a lot of defining characteristics of my characters until I get through one draft.
okay.
So
Well, thank you for sharing some of your process with us, Kirk. And thank you, the viewer, for listening today. I hope you've gotten a tidbit that will help in your writing. Just check us out. Our website is alma.edu/MFA. I'm Sophronia Scott. She is Kirk Walsh. Thanks for being here with us today.